Alright, pressure's down. We're about to open the canner, but I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous because I heard a pop at the beginning of the process. And Lord mercy, I hope a jar is not broken because number one, I hope a jar is not broken because I want the product. Number two, I'm sitting here trying to tell y'all how to can, and I don't need to be breaking jars in my canner. Bring you in. There better not be squash floating in my nice little tutorial canner. Well, we have done it, y'all. We have gotten to the end of canning season week. This is Miss Katie, and our project this summer has been called Project 54. That is where I've been cooking with you all summer long. It's been great. It's been tiring, I won't lie. It has been great though, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the community. I've enjoyed the comments. I've enjoyed the results of the food. Mr. Patient and the kids have too. Well, welcome to today. This is canning yellow squash. Now, I bring this to you. This is nothing new to me. I've been doing it for years, but when I first posted about this on Instagram about 4 or 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago, folks said, what? I didn't know you could can yellow squash. And then they said, why? Why would you can it? As did the lady at the Amish produce stand yesterday. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we will talk about how we use it and why on earth I would can it. But before I do that, I want to tell y'all about my homekeeping course. Now, I have started a homekeeping course. I do have that for sale, and module 1 is the one I have available right now, and that is preserving the harvest and all the things about how I preserve the harvest, how I have in the past, tips and tricks, why and how much I preserve each time, why I choose what I preserve each summer. I have a method to my madness. I have a video for you in that module. I have handouts. I used to be a school teacher. Listen to me. I have things you can print off. I almost said ditto. Oh, some of y'all don't know what a ditto sheet is, but things you can print off to keep in your homekeeping book or to start your preserving book or your homemaker's book, something like that. I have all kinds of documents that you can print off. I have resources. I have a list of things that I keep in my ideal pantry. And so the link to my homekeeping course is down below in the description box. But the whole module is about food preservation as it relates to meal preparedness and vice versa. So keeping meal preparedness and menu planning in mind as you're preserving your food and planning your garden or planning what you'll buy at the produce stand or the meat market or where have you. So I just want you to take advantage of that, and I do have a video kind of explaining that a little bit. This is what I have to can today. Now, normally in the past I would have bowls and bowls, boxes and boxes of yellow squash to can. I don't have access to that this week, but I do have some yellow squash. I've got more over here. I do have some yellow crook neck, or this might even be straight neck squash. This is what I've grown up with. I grew up with yellow crook neck, but you don't want them too big. In fact, some of these are a little bit bigger than what I want because the skin starts to get tough and the seeds are big in the middle, so you don't want that. You want them smaller. I even have some, I bought these. I have some that grew out in my garden. These are a little bit smaller. Obviously, it's a different variety than these. But anyway, I'll be going out here in a little bit just to make sure I don't have more in my garden. Also, with this batch, I am going to can with this something I've never seen before, yellow zucchini. So we know that this is zucchini. Again, you don't want it huge. It always throws me off when I see at the produce stand or somewhere like that, and they tout the huge zucchinis. Okay, well, that's only good for boat making with my little boys. And they play their little army men with that. So we don't eat large zucchinis unless you want to go to the trouble of peeling them and getting the seeds out. And we don't do all that. So large zucchinis are not desirable in our opinion. But anyway, so I'm actually also going to can some zucchini with the yellow squash. I have done that in the past. I typically don't because, like I said, I usually have enough yellow squash. This is yellow zucchini, and I found this yesterday at one of my Amish friends' produce stand when I went to pick up tomatoes that I'm going to can in a future video. But I have never in my life seen yellow zucchini, so I'm actually going to add that. So I have 3 bags. I don't know what the weight is, but I have 3 bags of zucchini, or of squash, total squash. I'm probably going to keep one of them and make zucchini fritters, which is in my first cookbook, or slice and fry it, which is going to be in my second cookbook that I'm writing now. Also, off camera, in addition to slicing these, I'm actually going to half them long ways, and then I'm going to slice them about 1/4 of an inch thick. And then I'll put them in this bowl. Then I'm going to slice 2 Vidalia onions. In fact, I'm not going to slice them, I'm going to chop them. 2 Vidalia onions, and I will mix all that in here in this bowl. And then I already have my wide mouth quart jars. Little Miss Homemaker has washed those for me. They're actually, she washed them, plus we put them in the dishwasher to make sure they're good and clean and sanitized. We'll be putting them in the oven, and I'll turn the oven on the lowest setting, which is 170 degrees. Once it gets to that, I actually have a keep warm setting on my oven, so I will do that. But I have typically not had that in the past, and I just will keep it on the 170, or I'll probably just turn it off. And then the jars will stay plenty warm in there, because 170 is a little hotter than you need it. So that's how I keep my jars warm. I keep them on their sides, and so then I can pull out, and again, I used to not have this. I would just use a hot pad, but I can just pull out the jars with my glove 2 at a time. All right, I'd like to talk to you for just a second about my favorite canning book. Now, I know there are tons of canning books out there, some of which I have on my wish list on thrift books, but you know what? This has served me well for years. Now, I've been canning, not voraciously, but I have been canning for at least 25 years, at least. So that's about as old as some of the millennial homesteading channels are in age. But anyway, I digress. They're doing great, but I'm just saying, the tried and true methods and books serve me just well, just fine. Now, I've mentioned this book before. This is Stocking Up, and this is my favorite book, my go-to, and it has been for years. Now, I want to tell you, this is where I get my timetable, whether or not to water bath or pressure can. I'm pressure canning today because it's a low acid food. And this is where I get my how-to and my times. This book is from the Rodale Press, and it is 1986. Now, in here it says zucchini and summer squash, which is yellow squash. And it says none of these are particularly good canned. Okay, that's where they're wrong, and I'm going to tell you about that later. I'll tell you how I've used it with great success. In fact, you can see my canning shelf in my pantry in the last Tennessee farmhouse and how much squash that I actually did put up, and I used every single jar that year. Okay, so it tells how to raw pack and hot pack. Today I'm raw packing, and it tells in glass jars, quarts, 30 minutes at 10 pounds pressure. But I just wanted to point out that that's where I get my information, is this book right here. There are lots of other books, like I said. I'm sure there's new fandangled methods, but you know, Nobody's ever got sick off my canning, and it has served us well. I think I'm going to be pleased with this yellow zucchini. Doesn't have big seeds like your typical yellow squash does, your crookneck. See, the seeds are a little bit bigger there. Alright, let's get her chopping. You can even do it in quarter pieces if you want. Okay, we have my great aunt Coriel's All-American canner here that served me well over the years. One of my canners that I own. And I'm going by the directions in the Stocking Up book, as I've mentioned, and you should use whatever makes you comfortable. So I put 2 inches of water in my canner, and I measure it to make sure it's 2 inches. And then I go ahead and turn it on to get it warm. Or very hot. And my little rack has never fit in here right. It needs an engineer to twist it and turn it the right way. I don't even understand. But anyway, that's what I go with. Then I also have just plain, pure, from my Berkey, hot water ready to go as well. No salt, just pure water. Brought to a boil and then reduced down to keep it hot. Okay, I have a canning bowl, if that's what you want to call it, full of the squash that I showed you. It was 27 squashes. So I used 26 squashes and I think 4 Vidalia onions. Some of them had some bad spots. But I've got my hot jars from my oven. My hands are clean. And I am going to just fill these jars. I've already told you that behind me I've got my canner ready and my hot water is ready. Again, it's important to have everything the same temperature, your jars, your water. And you want to not put salt. Now the book that I refer to, it says not to salt your vegetables because that kind of makes them softer. It said the purpose of canning salt anyway is for flavor. So this is just your vegetables in your hot water. I'm mashing them down. Pressing them down. Alright. So, oh, there went the floor again. I'm decorating the floor again. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to get my hot water. Let's see. Get my hot water here. My pot is full. My hands aren't as strong as they used to be, unfortunately. But anyway, that happens in life. Just up to about a ½ inch headspace, just up to the neck there. Plus this is a heavy pot of hot water. Alright, I want to keep it hot. Put it back there. And then I'm just going to clean off my rims. No, I'm not. I'm going to get my bubbles out. Now you could use something more narrow like a chopstick or something. I'm using this rubber spatula to get the bubbles to come to the top. You know what, I think I am going to go in this situation with a stick kebab, wooden kebab. Because you're just wanting to move everything around down there. Because the purpose of canning here, you're trying to get all the air out. So you don't want any capture down in there. I saw my friend Constance at Cosmopolitan Cornbread the other day had like a paddle that was made for this job. So that was interesting. You can get that, or you don't have to have that. You can use something else. But that was fascinating to see that. And I need a little more water on this one. Okay, I'm just going to wipe off the tops. And I'm going to get my lids over here. Now I'm going to put these lids on. I'm going to put the jars on the rack, not down in the water, but just kind of right there on the edge of the water. The water's heating up. Yeah, it's getting there. Everything will be just fine. So I'm going to continue to fill 2, 4, 5 more jars, and then I'll show you how I go from there. Okay, these directions are for my particular canner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that heat up. I'm going to set these in there. Remember, that's the 2 inches that it called for. I'm going to put my lid on. Now, on this All-American canner, there is no seal to have checked, but it's recommended that if you're using a canner that does take a seal, to have that checked every canning season. And I think your your county extension agent, I think, will check that for you. Alright, okay, so I'm going to line up my arrow with my little notch there. There it is. Okay, make sure that's on real well. And then my little arrow and my notch are lined up together. Okay, now I'm going to make sure. Sometimes I do have some moisture to seep through this. And here is what I do about that. I actually go and just kind of tap on this. Shouldn't have to, I know, but make sure that petcock valve is open. I just to make sure. This is an old canner. I'm not compromising anything by doing this. I'm just trying to make sure. And still some might seep through, but my pressure will come up. Okay, so I just started opposite ends, and I screw the top on to Aunt Coco's canner. And there you go. I'd like to save my money and get a bigger one someday. Love these. All American. I mean, this thing is, I don't even know how old. Okay, now I've got the lid screwed on well. I've got my heat on high, and this is where I start to watch, and I want to have steady stream coming out of here for 10 full minutes. After that, I will flip that down like that, and then my pressure will start to come up. I will watch it, and according to my book that I'm going by, my guideline, I want this at 10 pounds pressure. That's tricky. I know there's some pressure canners out there now that you don't have to watch, and that's great. That's fine. This is what I'm used to. Maybe someday I'll get a fancy schmancy one, but I don't have that right now. So I have to stay close by, and I have to watch that pressure. And I have to adjust my temperature higher or lower to keep that at 10 pounds pressure. Now, I want to encourage somebody right now. I want to encourage the person who's a new canner, because I'm going to tell you this right now. I grew up freezing. I remember helping my mama and my daddy in the summertime, and we didn't have air conditioning in the house, so we had to do the freezing, the blanching, and all that stuff late at night. And I remember those, putting the broccoli spears in the bags, tying the bag, getting the air out, tying the bags up, putting the bags in those white freezer boxes, folding the ends up and then labeling them. I remember all that, and that's how I grew up preserving food. Now, when I got married 32 years ago and decided I wanted to learn to can, and I got a pressure canner, bought one. I have a water bath canner. Aunt Coco gave me this one. I taught myself. So that's why I want to say, don't be discouraged. Oh, I don't have anybody to teach me. Oh, wait. Hey, look, teach yourself and learn how to use the pressure gauge if that's what you have. And so I want to encourage you. I'm not a first generation canner, but my mama didn't can. People before her did. But I did teach myself. So you can too. You can. I want to say it's very easy. It is now. But I just taught myself. Trial and error. Never had anything to explode. Never had I had one jar to break. And that is not anything I did wrong. But anyway, I just want to encourage y'all. Okay, so we're going to wait, let this steam get up 10 full minutes, and then I'm going to close that, and then we will come over here and turn the gas down a little bit, because it's not going to need that high heat. And then we're just going to watch that gauge, and when that gauge is at 10 pounds pressure, then I'm going to keep it there by maintaining my heat for 30 full minutes. And the rule of thumb is, if it falls beyond that 10 pounds of pressure, that desired amount of pressure, then you're supposed to start counting your time all over again. You don't want that. Okay, also, if you live in a different altitude, you need to do your research and adjust the pressure and the time for that change in altitude. Okay, so I'm going to close this. All right, and now, but I'll be monitoring the heat, monitoring the pressure, and I'll maintain 10 pounds pressure for 30 minutes. Kitchen's getting hot, and so is Miss Katie. I went ahead and used nearly that whole bowl, and I'm using my Presto canner too. Thought I'd get it going while the All-American's going. Maintaining 10 pounds over here. Actually, I think I'm at 11, but I'm okay. Starting this, and I got, I think it's 6. How many did I get in here? 2, 4, 6. So it holds 7. But I got 7 quarts in here. 6. I got 6 in here, so I've got 13 total. So I get those all done at one time, and that was pretty much an entire bowl with maybe a half a cup of stuff left over. Maybe not even that much. So that's where I am. I'm holding this, and I'm getting this one going, because I might as well just watch both at the same time. I do my half-gallon tomatoes and my half-gallon broth in this, because it's taller. All right, so we're 0 pressure. Maintaining pressure on my second canner over here. We're good over there. Just lift that, just any last minute steam, but this was already at 0 when I released that valve. Oh dear, I smell something. Oh Lord mercy. I'm gonna take the lid off, but I can't look, so y'all tell me. Oh dear, I can't look. Oh, I don't know yet until we take everything out. Oh, mercy. Okay. Told you my little rack is crooked. Well, what's wrong with it? I think they're all intact. You can see, I use tap water. You can see how much sediment, calcium and such is in my tap water. Probably should have used Berkey water. Let them sit there for a second. Ow! Correct. That thing needs to be fixed. It's it's not, something's wrong with it. All right, there we are with my first 7 jars. They look good. You know how much I mashed them down, and then we still have a couple inches of water. But that's what happens. Now, I was going to tell you how I use this product. And thank you, Lord, that nothing broke. Now, y'all probably saw it coming. You probably knew that I was going to tell you the recipes in my cookbook. And you can get a free vegetables and sides chapter of my cookbook when you sign up for my mailing list on the website. You can get the recipes that I'm about to tell you about for free. The whole chapter, the vegetables and sides chapter. Just go to, actually there's a link in the description below if that's easier. Just go to heritageways.com. In about the first 5 seconds a pop-up will appear and you just fill out your name and email address, which gets you on the mailing list. And you also get the free vegetables and sides from my first cookbook. I'm writing one right now. Whoa, yay. If I'm not mistaken, I have an older video squash casserole on YouTube. And I've got Amber. Amber's my daughter-in-law, my first daughter-in-law. Amber's favorite squash casserole, because it is. It's her favorite. And then I've got my favorite squash casserole, Katie's favorite squash casserole. So they're different. That is how we use the canned squash. And again, referring to the homekeeping class, module 1, it talks about planning your meal, how much you need to can, and that kind of thing. Anyway, I was going to tell you that the Amish girl yesterday, I was telling her that I can squash, and she kind of made a face and she said, oh, well, I didn't understand completely what she said, but basically she was saying it wouldn't be crisp. And why would you eat it like that? And I said, well, I make a casserole out of it. She didn't, I don't think she understood it, but I said, you know, you don't want it crisp if you're making a casserole, because in the casserole you want it soft and cooked and mashed. And believe me, y'all, it is super good. I'm just saying. Mr. Patient was not a squash lover when he met me, but he absolutely loves it. He loved it the way my mama made squash casserole before I even wrote a cookbook and wrote these 2 recipes in my cookbook. So just give it a chance. Next week, our last 4 episodes are going to be my favorite foods. Now, law mercy, that's going to be hard to come up with, but I'm going to do my best. My favorite foods next week. And next Friday, August 27th, 2021, we're having a live after party. And it's going to be only subscribers only can comment or enter to win the drawing that I'm going to have. So you have to be subscribed. Not to watch it. Anybody can watch it. But you have to be subscribed in order to converse, to comment, and enter the drawings and that kind of thing. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about behind the scenes and things that happened and funny things and not funny things, and just I've got a lot of trivia, and it's just I'm planning what I hope is going to be a fun evening for us next Friday night. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you remember that. Put it on your calendar. Well, I need to get over here and take care of this canner, and I'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a great weekend.